Maui. First off, my love, solidarity, and well wishes go out to all the people in Maui and Hawaii, particularly in the town of Lahaina. So there was a wildfire that happened recently in the town of Lahaina in Maui, Hawaii, and it has devastated, absolutely devastated that town. And so I want to get to the story exactly of what happened. Unfortunately, a lot of exactly how it started, nobody knows. And that's the crazy part about it. Let's take a look here. Let's go to just random CBS News. How did the Maui fire start? What we know about the cause of the Lahaina blaze. So I don't care if I'm using an ad blocker. That's my prerogative. It says deadly wildfires burning in Hawaii have killed dozens. I'm going to tell you guys that might be inaccurate. It might be an understatement to say dozens, by the way. It says and forced thousands to evacuate, fueled by a mix of land and atmospheric conditions that can create fire weather. A massive blaze destroyed much of the historic town of Lahaina. Let me make sure. Lahaina on Maui. The U.S. Coast Guard said crews rescued 17 people who jumped into the Lahaina harbor in an effort to escape the flames. On Front Street, a popular tourist destination, business owner Alan Dicker described seeing the buildings on both sides of the street engulfed in flames. There were no fire trucks at that point. I think the fire department was overwhelmed. That's what he told to the CBS affiliate. Speaking later to CBS, Patrick Trophy said Maui can't handle this. A lot of people just lost their jobs because a lot of businesses burned. A lot of people lost their homes. This is going to be devastating for Maui. What caused the Maui fire? Much of Hawaii was under a red flag warning for fire risk when the wildfires broke out, but the exact cause of the blaze is still unknown. Quote, we don't know exactly what actually ignited the fires, but we are made aware in advance by the National Weather Service that we were in a red flag situation. So that's dry conditions for a long time. So the fuel, the trees, and everything was dry. That was from Major General Kenneth Hara. So he's from the Hawaii National Guard, says that along with the low humidity and high winds, set the conditions for the wildfire. Says the winds were just getting out of control. Power lines were down everywhere. We just decided it was not safe to stay around for the day. So, by the way, just to let you guys know, there was a hurricane, Category 4 hurricane. It was Hurricane Dora. I'm sorry. Yeah. So it says hurricane classified as Category 4 by the Central Pacific Hurricane Center, contributed to heavy wind gusts above 60 miles per hour that tore through Maui, knocking out power lines and damaging homes. So the crazy part was that they typically have sirens in the area that will alert in case of emergency. For instance, when like a tidal wave or something like that was going to happen, if it ever happens, there are these loudspeakers, sirens that go off on the island. And remember, I don't know if anybody remember this, but there was this huge alert, this emergency alert, that there was supposed to be some type of nuclear bomb, nuclear missile headed to Maui, not Maui, but the island of Hawaii. And people were freaking out because there was some miscommunication, and it sparked this alert system, and everybody was basically like freaking out. I even remember Jim Carrey saying that he was on the island at the time, and he had just come to grips where he thought he was going to die. and it was a false alarm that some nuclear missile was going to hit the island. Was it a nuclear missile or was it? I can't remember. It was either a nuclear missile. Yeah, I think it was a nuclear missile, something like that. But the alert system basically alerted everybody to that, which they freaked out. I think it was like a emergency broadcast, but everybody was freaking out. But the thing is that when it comes to the alert system that's throughout the island, where you have these loudspeakers that give the warning sound, those did not alarm at all for the fire. Instead, it was just emergency broadcast. It was emergency alerts on your phone, things like that. But, not everybody's near a phone. Not everybody's near a TV. So it wasn't never really broadcast to everybody who doesn't have that alert system. So that's one of the weird parts about it. But in order to really show the magnitude of this, because it's bad, guys, it's bad. So let me share. I'm going to share this first, just so you guys get the magnitude of how bad it really was. So let me share my screen really quick. So this is raw footage of the aftermath of what happened to Lahaina.
Here's a video I took yesterday on Friday, August 11th, 2023, walking towards downtown Lahaina, Front Street, the main Front Street. I was too exhausted at the time to speak and do a voiceover live, and I could not live stream. So I'm just going to talk over this a little bit, and you guys can watch a 5-minute video of pretty much just raw footage walking down the street and what it's like right now. I would not recommend that people come down here for a few different reasons. There is definitely still a pretty strong smell in the air. The workers that I've seen who are trying to sift through the rubble and presumably looking for bodies and that type of thing. I mean, they have pretty serious masks on. And aside from that, there have been reports of looting and civil unrest. I mean, I saw a few kind of rough looking people when I was down here, but I mean, nothing happened. But it might be a good idea to stay out of here for the time being. And you can see over there, there was multi-million-dollar beachfront houses were lost. I mean, I know every house on Maui nowadays is almost every house is going to be over $1 million, but there were houses that were probably 10 million that were lost beachside here. And my point of mentioning that is really just I've heard a lot of people speaking about the fact that a lot of the more low income neighborhoods were impacted by this, but really everybody was. There were certainly affluent people on the beach that lost everything as well, and there are many businesses, I mean, steel structures, the outlet mall, I mean, pretty much nobody that was in the path of this fire escaped unscathed. And there's a lot of things that are going to have to be rebuilt. It's going to take years. And looking at, I think, footage of this and footage before this happened, and then footage 10 years from now to see what becomes of this place is going to be interesting. So
that's the extent of the damage. It is just is massive as far as that town is destroyed. It is just completely and utterly destroyed. And there is a lot of information that came out from people who are locally on the ground. So I'm going to share this as well. This is the eyewitness account of a gentleman that spoke about like how it was. And I also have video of the actual fire that actually happened too. So we're going to get into that as well, just to show the extent of how bad it was. So this is from an eyewitness account, and he explains exactly what happened.
It was a firestorm. There was tornadoes of ash the size of charcoal from a barbecue, like being thrown by baseball players. I'm ducking behind walls. I had to kick in the door at Bubba Gump's to get out of it because I was getting pounded. And then Bubba Gump started on fire, and I'm running down Front Street, and the wall, there's like 80 people, and the ocean was on fire. Firefighter told me because the first layer of ash causes the seal. And then the next layer of ash was all the embers. So the tide line was on fire, and I had to jump through the water and come up through the fire. And 80 people, they were on the wall. Everybody started jumping in. Coast Guard was out there grabbing people. And I was like, no, I'm good. I was born in the water. I'm caught. And they're grabbing people, and I swam. I knew my phone was only good for like 15 seconds being submerged, then swam for like a half mile north. It was like nothing you've ever seen. This was bad that the people in their cars that were dead and from asphyxiation and the fire blew out the car, and you just saw the numbers of the dead are so wrong. People.
So the most I think I've seen as far as reported dead by the corporate media was like 80 to 85 at the most. I think I've seen like reports of like 40, maybe 50. People are saying they are so wrong, way off in the death toll. Way off. Let's continue this, because there's a lot of things that are, there's a few suspicious things that are happening that make me go, what in the world is actually going on down there? Now, I'm not a person that is really deep into conspiracy theories. I kind of used to be, but not as much. But I want to, okay, so let me get into this, because I wanted to share with you guys the actual footage of what was going on during the fire, and then some facts that are just awkward to me. So this is from Brian Krinzenstein. It says the video below shows people are jumping into the water to escape the fires, all as a hurricane passes by. The death toll from the fires now exceeds 80 people, right? That's what I just said. New fires have started in the area as rescue crews search for missing people. Officials estimate that there are over 1,000 people missing from the Maui area. Secretary of Defense Austin has pledged resources to help. Roads are now open so that residents of West Maui can get into Kaului to get supplies. The FEMA administrator has arrived, and a Hawaii governor said that all fatalities so far from the Lahaina fire have been people who were out on the streets or out in the open as people tried to escape the fire. So, very short video, but it's basically showing people that are just jumping into the ocean to save themselves. So those winds, those massive winds on top of what's going on at the fire, and those winds are basically feeding the fire, and so it's blowing people basically, you know, it is blowing in the way of the fire in the direction of the people, so they have no choice but to jump for their safety. And I'm gonna be honest with you, TikTok has been wonderful in this aspect because they have basically been showing, people have been showing real raw footage of what's been going on. So let me share this as well. It says families survived wildfire by hiding in the ocean for 5 hours. So let's go.
You're gonna be okay, Milo. Milo, your mask is dirty. It's better. Holy.
See, all that, that's what they're dealing with.
Oh man, that house is burning and my car's right in front of that house.
So that's one of the videos. There's quite a few that people were sharing. And here is some more of the aftermath as well. And it is really just sad because and it looks like a bomb went off. I'll be honest with you. That's what it looks like. And there's a lot of people who actually have speculations of something more nefarious. I don't know, right? I'm not sure. And I don't want to sound like I'm being divisive in this, but my heart goes out to everybody, but especially to the indigenous Hawaiians. The reason being is because even if we discounted whatever conspiracy theories that people may have regarding how the fire started, if we just go by the narrative that we have an extreme amount of climate change, they didn't cause this to happen. They're merely victims of corporate imperialism, capitalism, and causing the planet to do what it has done. And so when you look at the totality of what our corporations have been doing and internationally and influencing our atmosphere, our planet, to go into this direction, you have people who are caught in the crossfire from this tragedy. And so being caught by colonialism, imperialism, and their environment being devastated, it's like, just like the Haitian people, the Hawaiian people can't catch a break, right? Just like the people in Puerto Rico can't catch a break. The people in Cuba, they try to give themselves a break, but the United States keeps doing what it does. The people, a lot of people have been talking about what's going on in West Africa, same thing. Indigenous people in various different lands can't catch a break because of colonialism, imperialism, and environmental racism, and all these other different things. There's a heartfelt plea that was made by a young woman about what's going on as well. I don't even have enough time to show all these clips, but this is one of the biggest ones that I said I need to play this because it really shows the impact of what these wildfire. I even have to put this in air quotes, wildfires, because I don't know if it's actually a wildfire or it was actually caused by something else. But I also have to purse my words very carefully because I'm on YouTube. But here's the young lady. She's talking about what happened in Lahaina.
If you don't know what's going on in Maui, we are just being completely devastated right now. The last 4 days, I've been non-stop just working around the clock, trying to get supplies for people, trying to get the supplies to the people, working at the shelters. It's just, I'm safe and my family is safe and my dogs are safe. Last night they said the death toll is 80. It's not correct. They're not reporting it correctly. I don't know why they're not reporting it correctly. There's hundreds, if like at least 600, if not thousands of people who are dead.
They're saying 80. This young lady is saying that's way underreported. Way underreported. So what's really going on down there? How many people actually are dead because of these fires? And hold on. Casey says it's called arson. If it is, by whose hand? That's what I wonder. Let's continue. She has more to say.
In the streets, in floating in the ocean, there's over 3,000 homes that have been burned to the ground. There's no help here on the ground. All it is residents pulling together. My whole entire truck is full of supplies right now. Just residents going to the store, going to Walmart, going to Costco, buying as much as they can, driving it straight into Lahaina. I went there last night and there was a fire that started and we got so scared we weren't able to drop off all the supplies. There was flames that we saw and we were like, we just have to get out of here. It's so awful. The people who were able to evacuate Lahaina and get out, they're at the shelters, and the shelters are just a mess right now. They're so disorganized. We don't have anyone from any organizations helping. I think Red Cross is here, but it's just so unorganized. No one knows what we need. It's awful. And the people that are still in Lahaina that were not able to evacuate, they don't have gas in their cars. They can't leave. Some people are just holed up in their houses waiting for someone to come knock on their door and give them supplies. They don't even know supplies are like being distributed at the docks in Lahaina. And it's getting so bad in Lahaina. I never thought this was going to happen, but there's people going into like other people's homes trying to steal their stuff, like I heard that the people are being held at like gunpoint over there. I'm doing everything that I possibly can. I've literally been working nonstop the past 4 days, but it's like, where are the trained officials? We're not trained to do this. Like, I haven't gotten a break, and I'm just like, I have to help. Like, I have no other option but it's just so hard. There's still tourists that are here. Yesterday, right off the shores of Lahaina, people are dead. They're floating in the ocean. There's a tour company that brought out people to snorkel. If you have a trip here, don't come. Cancel it. There's people complaining that their weddings were ruined. Our families are dead.
I'm gonna keep my words to myself on this one.
If you've ever visited here, if you love any of the islands, please donate. Please, like, no news is showing how bad it really is. It's really, really bad. If you've had money to vacation here, you have $5 to send. Don't get Starbucks. Send $5. I'm taking donations on my Venmo, but if you don't want to do that, you can donate to any of the verified fundraisers, but make sure it's verified. Please spread awareness of this. Like, no one is talking about this outside of the island. Tell, I don't know, write to your Congress, your representatives. The president yesterday just asked for $13 million to aid in Ukraine, and he hasn't helped us at all.
And that's one of the biggest points that I wanted to bring out. Your people just suffered a fire on their island, and yet you want to send them billions of dollars to basically Nazis in Ukraine, and not even looking for a peace deal. But yet, you have people who suffered this fire and are dying. Now, he declared an emergency, which frees federal aid to go to Hawaii. But even still, our priorities are out of whack, it feels like.
If you don't have money to donate, please, please, please just spread as much awareness as you possibly can. Try to set up donation centers wherever you live. Please, we need every single helping hand that we can possibly get, every single dollar that we can possibly get. I don't care if you think $1 is too small.
So when it comes to, if you guys ever think about wanting to donate, please be careful about who you do donate to, because there are some people who are taking advantage, unfortunately, of this situation, and they are trying to scam people out of their money because they'll make it sound like it's for the people of Lahaina, when in reality it's actually just to line their own pockets. And if people really want to know the extent gosh, the extent is massive, man. That's the extent of and when you see the extent that horribly, it's like, how were these fires, like, isn't there a system where they can detect how, early on? But then it goes, well, the fire department, like somebody said, was overwhelmed. It gets to a point where it's like, there's no point. That's like trying to take a spray gun and squirt a few squirts of, water into an inferno. Like, it just gets to a point where you just have to give up. And so this is really the extent of what has happened. Now, there are a few people that are saying some weird things that have, at the very least, coincidences. So we're going to go to this first video because this is something that I found. I was just like, what in the world is going on? So they could be wrong. Who knows? But in this system, there's a lot of things I don't put past these corporations. Let's go.
I've been in the industry of people losing their homes due to fire, flood, monster, emergency services. But I need you guys to hear me out. You don't see what's going on. I feel something is bigger. I've been on Maui the last 9 years, and I know the geographical location and how everything works. There was no fucking way that a hurricane missed Big Island, went to Maui, and didn't flood them, didn't give them, crazy, other things, but it caused fires. It caused fires in not only on Maui, but it caused fires in the most precious parts of real estate in Maui. Lahaina Front Street is worth billions. The Hawaiians that have been holding out and the Kanaka have been holding out for years, not wanting to sell their property in Lahaina due to these big $1 million companies. It is not a coincidence, I don't believe, how in the most precious parts of Maui, Kula, Lahaina, and Kihei, that the locals that are standing strong and do not want to give up Oprah Winfrey's fucking view up in Kula that the Hawaiians are holding out on, that the fire was going to, the Hawaiians and the Kanaka that was holding right there on Front Street.
What the hell is going on? That's my question. Guy said they were just trying to gentrify Maui. I said it. There's another one where there's a few people. It's getting weird. So let's also go to this person as well. I'm not too familiar with Matt Kim. I think he might be conservative. I'm not exactly sure, but some interesting points that were brought out.
What's going on in Maui? There is a lot to unpack, so try to keep up. Several wildfires have broken out on the island of Maui, creating mass devastation and destruction, most notably the town of Lahaina. This is not the people's fault, and our hearts go out to those affected. Why is Lahaina significant? It was once the capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii, prior to the forced U.S. annexation and the eventual move to Honolulu. Lahaina is filled with native property and business owners that have dug their heels in and have refused to sell their properties to conglomerates such as BlackRock, Vanguard, and Oprah. Unglobalized prime oceanfront property still owned and managed by the natives. So what caused this destruction? Short answer, no one knows. All government agencies, local and federal, have vehemently stated that it is unknown. However, there are two competing theories online. One, environmental, the perfect combination of a major hurricane 200 miles off the southern shore of Maui, combined with northern pressure to create massive dryness and winds. Or two, diabolical, something the conspiracy theorists call a DEW, direct energy weapon. What? I had the same response, so I started Googling. The first article that pops up when you Google Maui DEW is from Newsweek. It starts like this. The devastating wildfires in Hawaii have brought a new conspiracy theory from climate change deniers.
Okay. So the thing is that I don't, the whole DEW thing, I don't know. There could be a possibility. Maybe, maybe not. But my thing, though, is ultimately it's about corporations. I don't necessarily put certain things past. I don't put things past the corporations. But are they really that smart? My kind self says it can be both climate change and colonizer capitalism. Yes. Like saying that it was because of this certain type of technology. I'd actually believe it more if they hired somebody to set a fire someplace and just like walk away. Like that seems like more like the more simplest thing to do, rather, than anything, super like technological, like they would do something like that. It's like, really? Like, nah. I honestly think that if they were to do it, they could just probably hire some schmuck to light a fire and then just let it go. And then because they knew that the atmosphere was perfect for it. Who knows? But yeah. But I don't put it past them.
At a low interest rate. Your super valuable property that is skyrocketing in value, you can now get a new mortgage courtesy of Uncle Sam. There are also countless efforts by the people to send aid and support to devastated areas. This would be great, except local residents are now saying that they are having difficulty delivering such aid and only FEMA and Red Cross aid is being allowed in. Roadblocks everywhere. No one allowed in or out. And Maui is an island surrounded by water next to one of the largest U.S. military bases. Local residents are saying that they received no advanced warning and that they only evacuated once they saw the thick black smoke at their doors. Why was the federal response so slow on this matter, waiting until the fire had overtaken this area prior to action? I don't know what's going on in Maui. Our hearts go out to all those affected, and we pray for your safety.
So there was a tweet that was brought out about the real estate in that area that it's like you always got to follow the money, folks. Let me share this really quick first by Cynthia McKinney. I told Miss Cynthia that I'd be sharing this on the show. So this is from Cynthia McKinney. This is a picture. It says, Maui celebrity residents quiet as town is torched by fires. So this is where Lahania is. Mick Fleetwood's home. Owen Wilson's home. Oprah's land that was also on fire. Grand Wela. Jeff Bezos' $78 million home. Steven Tyler's house. Four Seasons Wela. Clint Eastwood's home. And then Larry Ellison owns 98% of Lanai. So that's interesting how they own all that land there. But also there was something that was shown by this person named Fletch. That's Fletch 17. They said, did anyone check who owns land in Hawaii? Yep, BlackRock in the U.S. government. Who stands to profit from this fire? Yup, BlackRock and the U.S. government. It's not an accident, folks. And don't look into the submarine tourist trips and tunnels either. And they share this screenshot of who owns Maui. It says after the state of Hawaii, who owns over 154,000 acres on Maui. Alexander and Baldwin is the second largest landowner at over 65,000 acres, and the U.S. government is the third largest landowner at over 33,000 acres. And then this shows Alexander and Baldwin Inc. This is from the New York Stock Exchange. But look who's part of the top institutional holders: BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. Second largest landowner in Hawaii. So I was like, let me take a look at this myself. I was like, you can't always take, what they say, because it could be wrong. It could be false. So I was like, Jaybe, get on the Google machine and take a look. So I went to that same site. Who owns Hawaii? Right? It says who owns Hawaii? Right? And here it is. Who owns Maui? After the state of Hawaii, who owns over 154,000 acres on Maui? Alexander and Baldwin is the second largest landowner at over 65,000 acres. And the U.S. government is the third largest landowner at over 33,000 acres. Who is Alexander and Baldwin? Interesting question. Well, if you go to Alexander and Baldwin, you can see exactly who owns them. So, Alexander and Baldwin, according to Simply Wall Street, it says institutional investors own over 50% of the company, so together they can probably strongly influence board decisions. Alexander and Baldwin is now owned by hedge funds BlackRock Inc. and is currently the largest shareholder with 19% of shares outstanding. In comparison, the second and third largest shareholders hold about 17 and 5.8% of the stock. There it is, BlackRock again. I find it quite interesting. So let's go straight to NASDAQ. I was like, all right, well, let's go to NASDAQ. Let's see what they say. Here it is, NASDAQ.com. Alex Institutional Holdings. All right. So, institutional holdings, boom, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, right there in 4K. What could they stand to gain from this? Like a lot of my, a lot of people who are teaching me, like in Midwestern Marx, one of the biggest questions they always ask from a Marxist viewpoint is who benefits? Because it was a lot of small businesses and homeowners, particularly a lot of people who are homeowners or landowners that were indigenous Hawaiians that said they did not want to sell, businesses that said they did not want to sell. And yet this fire happens. They said earlier this year, they're not budging. And who owns a big chunk of the land on Maui? I don't know, man. This is just looking crazy to me. You know, am I crazy? Like, please let me know in the chat. Am I crazy? Am I the crazy one? Because I am like, I'm going like, what the hell, man? Because it's all looking pretty suspicious.
Hi everyone, my name is Kate. I'm from Maui, specifically Lahaina. My family and I live up Lahaina Luna. We were evacuated during the fire. We're currently displaced. We are sleeping on the floors of the most amazing family members. I just wanted to come on here and say, do not believe what is being told on the news. 86 casualties is not true. The actual count is estimated somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people. People were not informed except for 5 minutes before they had to evacuate. And this was via a cell phone message, an emergency alert. Our town has evacuation sirens for tsunami installed that are working, actively working, and they were not sounded. Children home from school while their parents worked. Our kapuna will only have access to landlines. These are the people that they're pulling out of houses right now. That they're pulling out of rubble. Our whole town is gone. Our families are forever changed. And I go to load up its supplies to bring them into Lahaina to help out our family members that are still there. And there's tourists getting off the plane wearing puka shells. Do not come to Maui.
It continues.
Do not come to Maui. Do not come to Maui. Cancel your trip. Now. You're snorkeling in the same waters that parents push their children out on life rafts, on paddle boards, on anything that would float so that they couldn't be burned. Parents that burn in the water 100 yards out. People screaming from Front Street. You're snorkeling in that water. You're using our resources that we need. Do not come to Maui. Do not come to Maui.
And yet you have some people complaining, oh, my trip is ruined. I don't give a shit if your trip is ruined. Your heart should be going out to the people and asking the question, how can I help? It's the last one I'm going to show. Oh boy. Let her rip.
So today we're going to talk about some updates on the Hawaiian fire situation. Now, I want you to look at this guy's page, go to his Instagram and follow him. He's talking about how people are trying to bring in supplies such as water, food, and gas, and they are being turned away. The military is turning away people from helping, and he was talking about this on his page. Now, if we take it a step further, the governor was asked, why didn't the system go off when the fires were happening? And he was basically saying it must have been a malfunction. But what's interesting is a person commented, the siren sounds went off when there was no tsunami, but the sound when an actual burning fire disaster, it doesn't occur. What's also interesting about the governor was he passed this executive order just before this in July, which
says Governor Green's anti-housing proclamation threatens Aina culture. Sorry if I'm ruining these words. Kama Aina and the future of Kiki. It says Governor Green last month finally unveiled his long hinted at emergency proclamation on housing, and Sierra Club attorney David Kimo Frankel perhaps sums it up best. It's unconstitutional, it's anti-Hawaiian, it's anti-environment, and it's anti-democratic.
Could take away the land from the people based on if they need to rezone. There's also a lady who has mentioned how the Red Cross has had hundreds of millions of donations from all these celebrities, but they don't have any security and they're having to move the people out who have lost everything. So then we look at this lady's work and we can see that this looks like a land grab. If all of these politicians and celebrities really cared, why aren't they talking about this legislation? This legislation was something that was proposed on January 5th of 2023. 51 acres in the same area of the fire would be turned into a housing project. Interesting. Now, what's also interesting is this follows the Agenda 2030 plan as well. So we really have to ask, was this just what the media reported or something planned?
This is why independent media is so important. This is why we got to pay attention to independent media as much as possible, because the corporate media, while we can glean some things from them, ultimately they're always going to go the slant or the narrative of the corporations, the corporate power, because they are employed by the corporate power. So this is why it's so important to support independent media and share. It doesn't have to be just, us at RBN. You can, places like Black Agenda Report, Gray Zone, Left Lens, Indie News Network, Hard Lens Media, Do Dissidents, do whatever you can to support independent media, because the thing is that a lot of times these things are being either underreported or misreported for the slant of the corporate media. Thank you so much to Tackwish for the generous super chat. It says, we as Indian people, islanders, and American citizens do not own the land. Liars and pretenders, oligarchs have raped us and our lands for centuries. Companies have waged this war against nature for centuries, and racism against my people continues. And this is a great fact that needs to be spoken about over and over and over, because the indigenous Hawaiian people have been telling all of us, stay away, stay out. Because the thing is that Hawaii basically is, the kingdom of Hawaii was taken away by colonization. And now they're just trying to make it into some prime real estate to make more money off of. Hawaii is beautiful. But just because it's beautiful doesn't mean it belongs to you. It belongs to the people that have been on there for thousands of years. That's their land. And the question is, what's the difference between Israeli illegal occupation and stealing it from the Palestinians and what the United States has done to the Native Hawaiians. What's the difference? I don't see that much of a difference. So thank you very much for that super chat. Welcome. I haven't seen you here before, but welcome to RBN. Nice to have you. Solidarity with you and the native peoples of Turtle Island, whose land that we are on. Thank you so much. Baba Yaga Forest Dweller says they wanted to create AI 15-minute cities in Hawaii in those locations. HR 4325, Weather Modification and Precipitation Management Act. And hear this. Cloudy Skies Now says, weep for the rich white people, y'all. The thing is that I am not necessarily I'm not weeping for them. I'm weeping for the indigenous Hawaiians and the poor people in that area. Because they, if you're rich and you lose your house in that area, you can come back to the mainland and then you can, have something. But the people who are poor or, working poor in that area, what do they have? They have nothing. Mad Crab, good to see you, Mad Crab, says, looks like everyone knows this wasn't caused by climate change. There's a lot of people that are saying that they don't think it's climate change that actually caused this. While climate change is real. Oh, it's damn sure real. And I think it may have exacerbated this problem. I don't know, man. Something just seems off. Matthew says, eminent domain keys them legally taking any property. If this is an attack, it is to punish, not take property necessarily. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much for the super sticker from Oz. Thank you so very much. Daniela, thank you so much for the super sticker as well. This is a story that I don't see too many people talking about. And so this is an ongoing story. And let me see. Deneen asked, were any celebrity homes destroyed? I'm pretty sure there were some celebrity homes. Nobody that's like an oligarch level that their home got destroyed. But the interesting part about all this, though, oh man, there's so many videos. Like there's one where people are actually riding through the fire. But I showed a picture earlier from Cynthia McKinney about all the people who they own land in the area. I'll show it again just in case, if it'll let me. Okay, I'll do it that way. Miss Deneen, let me share this. So, okay. So it says Maui's celebrity residents quiet as town is torched by fires. So you have Owen Wilson, Oprah Winfrey, Jeff Bezos has a $78 million home, Steven Tyler, Clint Eastwood, Larry Ellison. And so it shows the parts where they're fired, this where these little flames are. So it shows that. Lahaina's right here at the northwest edge, right? So that's where Lahaina is. Oprah has land right in the middle, basically smack dab in the middle of Maui. And you see Larry Ellison owns 98% of Lanai. And so you have a lot of rich people who own land on the island of Maui. I imagine, somebody like Clint Eastwood, he has, I'm not sure if his home got burnt, but yeah. So I'm pretty sure because from the first video I showed, one of the gentlemen said that there was some affluent people who had their homes burned down as well too. But yeah. What he says, I can see how people might think other sorts of things could be involved in the devastation, if only because the events from Oppenheimer are currently in the public imagination. I haven't seen that. Is it a movie? I think it's a movie. I haven't seen it. So it's not really on my mind, but a lot of these things do seem pretty suspect to me. I'm not going to say whether it is or otherwise, but I'm bringing this to you guys because it seems suspicious to me. So I want to see if I'm crazy or not. So yeah. DJ Hyona says the Yona mourned the deaths of indigenous cousins and rich Yoneg relatives, all the same. We're all related, and we grieve all our losses, even the deaths of our enemies upon fields of battle. Oh, man. Yeah. And just shout out to you, DJ Hyona, and to the First Nation people as well. Amelia says Alexander and Baldwin is part of the historic Big Five plantation owners that were instrumental in overthrowing the annexation of Hawaiian Kingdom. If there's a land grab, I hope Kamehameha Schools buys it. Ooh. The overthrowing and annexation of Hawaiian Kingdom. Wow. You know what? I would love either on RBN or on my channel, either or, I don't care, to have Native Hawaiians on. Like, okay, I want to do a series. Thank you so much for this super chat. I'm going to take this down just so that everybody can see me. I want to do a series where I talk to people from Guam, Samoa, particularly American Samoa, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. I would love to talk to especially people who are in these areas, who are native to these areas, indigenous to these areas. And I would love to speak to them about not only the historical analysis of what has happened to their land and what they would, and the type of steps that they're trying to take in order for liberation, or how we can help in that liberation. Because my thoughts is none of us are free until we are all free. And I send this out to indigenous peoples. If the Hawaiian people are not free, we're not free. If the Taino people in Puerto Rico are not free, we're not free. If the people, the First Nations on the continents are not free, we're not all free. Same thing with people in Cote d'Ivoire or in, DRC or in South Africa. Or if you want to talk to the people who are the indigenous in places like Australia, none of them are free until we're all free. And I think that this conversation needs to happen so that we all build coalitions together so that we can push for a better system outside of this. Because it's just, we shouldn't have to do this. Roger Mennel says climate change is a good cover to do this. Okay, I'll see you on Rockman. And then I'll get to my next story in a second. Let me Actually, let me do this. I'm honestly just like pissed off because I just hate seeing people suffer, man.